Good morning. I have a message I wanted to share with you today. It is about alcohol use and the lies that we have been fed all this time. I feel like I am having a personal awakening. So let me back up by talking about stigma really quick. As many of you know, I have a mission to reduce the stigma around mental health issues, around dissociation issues. And what I am going to be talking about today is probably the biggest one for me, anyway, is the stigma around admitting that I don't know if this alcohol use of mine is really okay. And for myself, I'm coming to discover it really isn't. And to back up even more, I don't know, 15 years ago, I worked for about 10 years at addiction agencies. And the message frequently was if somebody meets the criteria for alcohol dependence or alcohol abuse, then there's a problem and they need treatment. But the message, like underlying, I always got was kind of us versus them. So if we're not a full-fledged alcohol dependent person or an alcoholic, then we're good. There's stigma around that. And there's an error in thinking on that, I realize. And the other mentality that I would slip into is if I have this split mind, I notice. And I hate that. I hated that. Because I had all this information about addiction and alcoholism and the horrible consequences that can come with drinking irresponsibly, or, there's a genetic component. So if you drink too much and you become an alcoholic, well, that's them, not me. I'm not that. But I had this split way of thinking of, but am I okay? Or sometimes I do drink too much, but am I meeting the criteria? I don't know. And then I would flip to the very normalized, I'm fine, girl, you're fine. At least you're not as bad as that person. At least you're not doing that. And that is very, very dangerous, because what I've been learning more and more in my research about this topic is, and I know this, but alcohol is poison, period. Alcohol is poison. But we get so many messages to the contrary that, it's so highfalutin to sniff said poison at the winery and taste it. Oh, bouquet and oaky. And what do we do? Go lick the barrel? Like, how do we know oaky? I don't know, but we buy into that. And if any of you have ever been on a wine tour, if you're like me, after a few tastes, they all taste the same. So anyway, one book that I do recommend that was very illuminating to me is this. It does get repetitive and annoying as hell often, but I think it's part of her trying to deprogram us. So for me, my biggest fear still is my alcohol use is around celebration and connecting and good times. I know very frequently alcohol is used because of trauma or because of stress, and I get that too. I just last year, my brother-in-law died of alcoholism, and several years back, my lovely cousin Ellen died of alcoholism. And I know that the start of those paths were trauma-based. And even with that, us versus them. Well, I'm not like them. I only like to have a glass of wine when I'm by the water. Or you might get, being a runner, huge messages in the running community. Woohoo! After a race, they serve beer. at the end of a race or during races. There's beer drinks. I didn't do that because I knew I would throw up, but it's such a celebration. Since I started exploring this deeper and reading this book, I'm seeing it all differently now, like on TV. For one example, if you've ever seen the TV show Blue Bloods, you know, this upstanding law enforcement family drinking nonstop, whether it's wine at dinner, the dad and the grandpa having their whiskey at night, beers with friends, all throughout it. And I used to justify it. I'd see it on TV and say, yes, see, if the Reagans can drink, I can drink. Why do I feel fear and guilt? Well, after doing this work a little bit more, I'm like, ew. They are just pushing that message that in order to be cool and have fun or relax or connect, we better have an alcoholic beverage in our hand. I do have a fear coming in the summer, some of the things I love to do without having the alcohol along with it. Am I going to be fun? Are my friends still going to like me? Most of me knows, of course, but there's that little part. So that shows you I'm still doing work. I still have work to do. But I'll share my last thing that I was pretty excited. So my husband's reading this with me too, and he's right on board, which is awesome. We were soaking in the hot tub, and I wanted an experiment. So I had a 5-ounce glass of wine, which I've been measuring it for years so I don't go overboard. Even my doctor said, you're not drinking more than 7 to 10 a week, are you? No. You're good. No, we're not good. No, we're not, because the energy that it takes to even keep track shows what power the alcohol has. If I'm keeping track every day, which I have been for years, that tells me, girl, one more thing and you're slipping down the slope. So anyway, I had my little 5-ounce glass, and I'm paying attention to the taste, and I'm paying attention to how it made me feel. And I got halfway through and I'm like, this doesn't hit. It really doesn't hit. And I tossed it. And that was big for me. I feel like that was a release. So now if we get in the hot tub, I still have my nice wine glass, which I love, but I have sparkling water in it. And I'm not getting dehydrated anymore sitting in the hot tub. So no stigma. And I hope this kind of generates discussion or even curiosity, like, do a little research. Find out for yourself.